don't know how many people every year get out there and start a lawn care business. It is always interesting. I can't keep track of everybody, but I can keep track of some of the ones that are in the area that I work, and you see some that seem like they rise pretty quickly and are successful, and you see some that fade out pretty quickly and are not successful. So in today's video, I want to give you 6 things to think about. Maybe you'll learn some tips from this, but also just some questions that I think you need to have settled in your mind if you're thinking about starting a lawn care business. Today's video is sponsored by Yardbook. I've been in the lawn care business for a long time, and I've been running my business with Yardbook since 2015. If you need a software for your lawn care business, go to yardbook.com and sign up for a free account. All right, the first thing I want you to consider when you're going to start a lawn business, and maybe these are questions you can ask yourself wherever you are, but especially if you're thinking about starting or you're still in the first year or two, I think you can think through these things. And the first one that I jotted down on my paper here is the business size that you're trying to grow, or the plan that you have laid out. What I mean by that is, I'll just talk from my own personal experience. Like, I run a solo business right now, work by myself. And there's pros and cons to that. Obviously, the negative of that is you just can't scale it. I mean, you're by yourself, you're limited on what you can do. I mean, you're very limited. And there's some added risk there. If I were to get hurt, then essentially the business is going to struggle. You know, let's just be honest. I'd have to quickly move to try to save the business. So some very huge limitations there, but it is the choice that I've made and kind of fits my personality. With employees, there comes obviously the ability to scale, but there's a whole nother side to having employees, and you know, I don't think you need me to explain that to you, but sometimes they can be headaches, sometimes they can be a great benefit to your business. So it just depends on, you know, whether you're cut out to manage employees. But you need to understand that, because if you say, hey, I'm the type of person, I just want to work by myself, and you're going to go out there and mow yards for $50 a piece, then you just understand, like, you unless you're some kind of robot and you can wake up at 5 o'clock and start mowing until, you know, 7 o'clock at night every day, it's going to be hard to generate enough production in that situation to really do great. I mean, if you want to do that as a side income or whatever, but I'm talking about generating a significant amount of income, it's going to probably wear on you, again, unless you're a robot, and you're limited on, you know, how far that business can go. So just understand that. But you got to also think about your personality. Some people want to be out there in the field. There's a book that I really love. It's called E-Myth Revisited. It's a great business book. It's about a lady who, I think she, if I remember correctly, is a girl, and she may be baking pies with her aunt or grandmother or mom, or so, I forget exactly how it goes. But anyway, she loved that, and she wanted to start a pie making business. Well, what she realized was that she liked making pies, but she wasn't very good at a pie making business. She wasn't good at the business side of it. So you need to understand how you're gifted, what skills do you have, and what at the end of the day do you want to do? Or you have the idea that you can run a business and you want to hire a bunch of people to do it for you, and you can scale it, and the marketing is fine, and all of it's going to go great, and you're going to grow this thing? Or at the end of the day, are you somebody that just likes going out there and cutting grass or whatever you want to do to the lawn? I just want to get out there and do the lawn work myself and make some money, and that's fine too. But understand that, and don't try to force yourself into one that you're not. You know, so I had to kind of come to those realizations for myself. But just know, if you work by yourself, or you and 1 or 2 other people, you're obviously limited on how much money you can make. But you can still make it work. You just got to be smart about how you do it. All right, moving on. Number 2. The second thing I think you need to consider when you're starting a business is, how are you going to get the customers? Now, this has changed over time. You know, when I started my first business, I did a lot of door hangers. I'd walk around putting out door hangers, postcards. You can even knock on doors, and that still works if it's legal in your area. It's not very comfortable for most people, but it still works. A lot of big companies go out and hire people to just go knock on the door. But you need a strategy. Now, there's some free strategies. You can be very active on social media. You know, let's just say you got in a bunch of local Facebook groups and you started posting, or you got some friends of yours that lived in a certain neighborhood you wanted to target, and you got them to share your lawn care business post in their local Facebook group. You know, one of the things I like to do is to try to build relationships with as many people as possible who can send me customers. So when I moved where I live now, and I've shared this before, but I run a weed control and fertilization business now. And I started calling on all the mowing companies. Now, not all of them are on Google, some of them are, but I would go in those local Facebook groups, search for the word lawn care or lawn, and I would see all these people that were being recommended to mow grass, and I started calling on them. I'd say something like this. I'd say, hey, my name's Jason. I just started a weed control and fertilization business. I've been in the mowing business for a long time. I know that you're in the mowing business and you probably get asked a lot, who do you recommend for weed control and fertilization? I just didn't know, do you have somebody that you're currently sending your customers to? Some of them said, yeah, we send it to such and such company down the road. Some of them didn't have anybody. So the ones that there was an opportunity there, I tried to get to know them. We'd go have breakfast. I'd spray their yard for free. I'd give them a referral fee. I did whatever I could do to establish a relationship. And in doing so, now I have a list of guys who send me customers from their mowing accounts that want weed control. They send them to me. And I've developed some good friendships with them, and vice versa. I get all these mowing calls and I send them to them. So it's a win-win for both of us. Everybody's happy. And that's just one strategy that I took. Another thing that you can do, and I tell people, ask me, like, how do you get customers? Well, that's one way, building relationships. The other thing I've done is I do rank well on Google. For my hometown, I use a company called Footbridge Media. I'll put a link in the description, or you can just Google them. Go to Footbridge Media, Google Footbridge Media. If you'll scroll the bottom of the homepage, there's a link that says Lawn Care Life. Now, this is an affiliate link, but if you click on that link, you can get a website and the SEO, the search engine optimization, to help you rank on Google, and it's $1.99 a month. Now, if you don't use my link, it's $2.49 a month. So they've been great. They're very professional. They work with service industries. You can go check out my website, alabamalawnpros.com. They built that website. They do the search engine optimization for me. So that's another option. Now, that doesn't always happen overnight. You can't say, well, they built me a website yesterday, why I'm not first on Google. But that, getting Google reviews to help your online reputation, and they do other marketing things. But anyway, if you use them or use somebody else, whatever you want to do, that is another way to get leads, is through your website. And I get a lot of leads that way personally. Now, the third thing you're going to need to understand, in my opinion, if you're starting a lawn care business, is this term, and you may have heard it before, but we call it route density. So if I go right now and I get a lead on the internet, like we just talked about, I want to look up exactly where that house is. Now, a lot of the streets I know because I'm working in the same town, but at the end of the day, what I'm trying to do, whether I'm working by myself or have a crew or whatever, I want to get as many houses as I can, as many lawns as I can in the same neighborhood or very close together. What I don't want is one random house stuck out way away from me, and I got to go in there and I got to go spray one yard, and you say, well, you know, you base it on the square footage or how long it takes you. Well, that doesn't account for, a lot of times you make a mistake if you don't count the time it took you to travel out there. You know what I'm saying? So if it took me 10 minutes from my next closest house to get to this house, and then 10 minutes back, that's 20 minutes where you're just riding in the truck. And if you've got employees, that's really not good. So you can't, in my opinion, in good business practice, charge the same for that yard as you would that was one that's your next door neighbor. So at the end of the day, whatever business it is, in lawn care, in my opinion, you want to try to get as many as you can close together in the same neighborhood. So that's strategic when you start looking at which neighborhood you're going to target. Now, the exception would be, well, a couple things come to mind. One would be if I'm a landscaper, I'm doing $50,000 landscaping renovations. Well, obviously I'm gonna drive an extra 10 miles to do that. I'm talking about mowing grass, weed control and fertilization, things like that, repetitive nature. I wanna build up that route density. The other thing is, what I say is, let's just say I get a call and it's 30 minutes away. And I'm thinking, oh, I don't want one customer 30 minutes away. But if my plan is long term, I think that 30 minutes away could turn into a full day's work, or that's an area I want to target. You got to start with one customer, okay? A lot of times you get one, he's 30 minutes away, and you check back 3 years later and you got 25 in that neighborhood. So if you think there's a good opportunity there, I'm going to start with this one, but the plan is to grow it, then fine, take on that one customer. But if it's just one customer in the area that you don't feel like is a good opportunity, you're not going to be able to grow it long term, you'd be better, in my opinion, to walk away from that job than to take on one random customer that's out of the way. So I've made this comment before. I don't know if I think I agree with it. I think I do. I said it. But this idea that efficiency is more important than pricing. And what I mean by that is, if I am efficient, they're both obviously important, okay? But it's hard to adjust your pricing enough to make up for how inefficient you are. So if you just got random yards spread all over town and you're just driving all day and you get back to the house and you did 6 yards that day and you drove for 2.5 hours, you can't raise your prices $5 and fix all that. You know what I'm saying? But if you've got them saturated and you're very, very efficient, then you can still be competitive on pricing and beat your competitors because you're just more efficient than they are. That's my personal belief, and I think there's facts to back that up. Now, so I don't contradict myself any more than I already have, the fourth thing I want to talk about is pricing. I mean, pricing obviously matters, and you need to understand that. And the one thing I wanted to highlight on this is where I think that maybe there's some confusion. When it comes to pricing, think about it this way. You get out there and you got to kind of get a feel for the market price, but no matter what the market price is, you can't price it in a way that you're losing money. And sometimes the catch is, if you get out there and you're working by yourself and you think, oh, my labor's basically free and I've got one lawnmower and very low overhead and I'm working out in my basement, all this stuff, then you price it low and you're making more money than you did at your job you left. And, there's a lot of things that seem positive, but that can quickly not go well when things start getting more expensive. You hire somebody and your overhead starts going up and things start breaking. So what I want you to understand about the pricing is, yes, you got to figure out a price that works for your business. And yes, you sort of have to have a pulse on the market in your area. You can't just say, well, I need $200 an hour for my business to work and everybody else is charging, way less than that. You can't just make up a number and expect everybody to pay it, because again, that goes back to the previous point about route density. If I'm charging so much, am I going to build any kind of density, or am I just going to get a few random high-end customers? Well, you got to think all this, but the point I was trying to make is, when you are pricing your lawn care and you go up on your price, let's just say once upon a time you go up $5, okay? You're charging $50 and now it's $55. Well, if your fixed costs are the same, your overhead's the same, let's just say your costs were $30 and you were profiting $20. I don't know what it would be, and you went up $5. Well, you went from $20 profit now to $25 profit. So even though you only went up $5 on your price, your actual profit increased significantly more than that because your fixed costs were the same. Does that make sense? So you're still paying the $30 overhead, but now instead of making a $20 profit, you're making a $25 product. So I guess that's, if my math's correct, that's a 25% increase in profit, which is fantastic, even though you only went up on your price $5. So at the end of the day, you got to understand these things, because if you keep your price the same forever and your overhead goes up and things start getting more expensive, then ultimately your profit's going down, and your profit is not a huge part of the revenue. And so if you can increase your prices a little bit or bump them up slowly, then you're getting the profit more in a healthy spot where your business can be sustained or grow, and not just out there working yourself to death trying to make a living. The fifth thing I want to mention is understanding what services you're going to offer. And these are all kind of tying together, because again, we go back, if you say, I want to be a landscaper, I want to do high-end landscape jobs that are tens of thousands of dollars. Well then, route density is not as big a deal to you because you're going and doing these huge landscaping jobs. If you want to mow grass or spray weeds like I do, then you got to think route density is important. And you got to think, am I going to try to scale this? So if I'm going to mow grass and I think I can just cut everybody's yard for $40, you got to think, is that scalable? Can I hire people and still make money at this rate? Well, that's one of the things I like about the weed control and fertilization is it's typically more profitable. The amount of production you can get out of one person is far more than mowing grass typically. So if I go out there spraying yards today, I can do 25 yards some days. Some days 30 if they're small. If I go out there mowing grass today by myself and do 10 yards, I'm pretty whipped. That's a busy day. I'm tired, and that's a lot. So now, mowing, you can you can hire people, you can do things like that. You know, the spraying is kind of a one-man gig, but my point is there are a little bit higher margins and it's a little more scalable in my opinion. Now the mowing is scalable. People do it all the time, but it's hard to do just charging a low rate. And you know what I'm saying, you got to get all these other things right, your efficiency, your route density, your pricing, to be able to scale, or you're just going to be growing. And what happens to a lot of people is they find themselves that they grew their business, but they actually weren't making any more money. They were just doing a lot more work, had more headaches, they weren't making any more money than they were when they started out real small. So understand the services, how profitable they are, and how all the things tie together, route density, pricing, and what service you're offering, and make the whole puzzle fit together. And the sixth thing I want to mention is an exit plan. I think you need one of these. I think you can think from it from the beginning. You know, for instance, for me, working by myself, spraying yard, I make a pretty good living doing that. I do YouTube videos, other things on the side, and I like the lifestyle that it allows me to have. At the end of the day, I understand my business is not worth a whole lot of money. You know, I've got several hundred yards, I'm spraying myself, but nobody's looking to offer me millions of dollars for my business because it doesn't generate millions of dollars in revenue. So to me, there's a couple of options here. If you want to build a big business that generates millions of dollars in revenue and sell it for millions of dollars one day, and that's a pretty good exit plan. And businesses are worth millions of dollars that generate millions of dollars in revenue. At least a lot of them are. If you can't do that, or don't want to do that, or it's too much headache to do that, then you have to maybe go the route I'm trying to go, which is you try to as much money as you can make in the way you're doing it, but you're taking money that you're earning and reinvesting it in other things that can be an exit plan. So, you know, I can't mow grass till I'm 90. I don't think I can, or spray yards. I don't really want to. Though what I am doing is not taking on yards that are on big hills anymore as much, and just riding the Z-Spray more, and, you know, taking on smaller yards that I could do when I'm older. But the point is, I'm having to be a little more strategic, and I may sell the business one day. I mean, things may happen one day, but there's probably not some huge pot of gold at the end of the rainbow like there is for somebody that grows a big business. So I got to be a little more strategic about making sure that I didn't work 10 years, I have no savings. You know, this thing, well, I guess I'll just work forever. Well, no. I mean, at some point, I might not want to spray yards. You know, I enjoy it right now, but at some point I might be moving on. So understand how you got into the thing, how can you get out of it, and have a plan, and don't just get out there and start working and hope for the best at the end of end of your career. Two more things while I got you before I let you go. One, the 2025 Lawn Care Life Conference coming up. Go to lawncarelife.com and click on the conference link and just check it out. There's speakers we got coming. We're really excited about it. We got a Crest sponsoring again. We got Ferris sponsoring again. We've upgraded this year. We got Chick-fil-A breakfast this time. We've got Andy Mulder, Alan Hayne, the Lawn Care Nut, Paul Jameson, myself, a guy named Brandon Gray, who's a financial coach and business guru's coming. We got VIP tickets. Always a good time. 5th Lawn Care Life Conference that we've done. Excited about that. It's February 21st and 22nd near Birmingham, Alabama. You can get your tickets at lawncarelife.com and click on the conference link. Also, if you want to get into weed control and fertilization like me, go to lawncarelife.com. Check out the Weed Control and Fertilization Academy. We'll see you guys in the next video.